Imagine a teacher everyone has forgotten, silent in the classroom, invisible in the teacher's lounge, a name never mentioned, unnoticed, but knowing everything. While Ravenshade Academy proudly boasted its achievements for years, behind its walls, someone waited patiently. She neither shouted nor complained. She only watched, took notes, and prepared. Now, that teacher is the new owner of the school, and the silence that was once underestimated will now be the voice of justice. As you watch this story, you'll witness what silent people are truly capable of. Secrets will slowly unfold, and be ready to meet some faces in their true colors. Because sometimes the strongest revenge is the quietest one. If you're ready, let's begin. I'd really appreciate it if you stick around on this journey with me. If you like the story, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot, so we can share more great stories together. In the wide corridors of Ravenshade Academy, students hurried to their classes. None paid attention to the slender woman passing by. That was Eleanor Gray, an English teacher. Quiet, calm, invisible. Eleanor slowly made her way to her classroom door, taking those silent steps that everyone ignored. Before the lesson started, she sat at her desk to prepare. Today would be like any other day. No one would respect her or listen to her ideas. As students entered, a few whispered mockingly, "Miss Eleanor is quiet again. No excitement at all." Others chuckled softly. Eleanor pretended not to hear and turned to the board. Her voice was soft but clear. "Today we'll analyze a passage from Shakespeare's Hamlet." But things were different in the teacher's lounge. Principal Charles Whitmore quickly brushed off Eleanor's suggestions during the meeting. "Eleanor's ideas are always too soft," said Victoria Barnes with a mocking tone. "She lowers the school's standards." Eleanor's face showed no expression, but inside she was boiling. Everyone underestimated her. They didn't hear her voice. But quietly and patiently, she was building her plan. When evening came and the school emptied, Eleanor's other life began. She studied for her graduate courses in the university library, read financial reports, and learned to invest. She was quietly steering her future. She kept telling herself, "One day this school will be mine," and she waited patiently for that day. Eleanor's silence was the expression of a burden accumulated over years. She hadn't only experienced loneliness as a teacher at Ravenshade Academy, but also as a student years ago. While other kids played in the yard with bright smiles, she often hid among her books alone. She had no friends. Classmates excluded her and mocked her as quiet and boring. Yet inside her was a great dream and fierce ambition. Her loneliness as a student continued when she returned as a newly graduated teacher. She was a young woman in the teacher's lounge with no respect. Over time, disrespect turned into mockery and contempt. But Eleanor held a secret. Every injustice, every insult, every mockery was noted and documented. She was building a file, her silent revenge plan for years. Unfairness among students, corruption in school management, favoritism towards some teachers. All were recorded one by one. She vowed to bring these dark truths into the light one day. For now, she only watched silently. No one knew her plan. But for Eleanor, patience was everything. Every night at home, at her small desk, she gathered new information on her computer and grew her investment portfolio. Graduate courses were not just an academic challenge, but an investment in her future. Every day, she followed news about the financial status of the school's foundation. Secretly, she smiled. The time will come when everything falls into place. By day, Eleanor walked quietly through Ravenshade Academy as a teacher. By night, she led a very different life. She was building a quiet power amid books and financial reports. Years of saving and patience allowed her to spot weak points in the education sector. The school's foundation was struggling financially. Its stocks were losing value. This was an opportunity she could not miss. Eleanor began to invest small amounts secretly. She managed her savings carefully, preparing to use the accumulated money at the right time. Every night she stayed late, watching financial news. At school, Principal Charles Whitmore and other administrators still underestimated her and ignored her ideas. But outside, Eleanor was gathering strength, quietly strengthening the cards in her hand. One evening, she met secretly with her old friend and financial advisor, Mark. He supported her plan. "You'll make your move at the right time, and everyone will be surprised." Eleanor smiled. I stayed silent because I was preparing. Now the time has come. Day by day, her investment grew. The control of the school was slowly slipping into her hands, but no one realized it yet. Rumors spread fast at Ravenshade Academy. The school had been struggling financially for some time, and a new owner was about to take over. Principal Charles Whitmore and other managers were uneasy. No one truly understood what this uncertainty meant. In the staff room, veteran teacher Victoria Barnes spoke angrily. "Who is this new owner? I hope they don't disturb us. Such changes usually bring trouble." No one guessed that Eleanor was this new owner. She moved quietly through every corner of the school, keeping her calm demeanor unchanged. Her eyes saw everything, the small details, the hidden tensions no one noticed. In secret meetings of the school's board, Eleanor was now the largest shareholder. Still, no one knew. All preparations were complete, and the countdown for the big day had begun. That day arrived. A big meeting was called at school. All teachers, staff, and some students gathered in front of the hall. There was curiosity, tension, and a bit of fear in the air. Eleanor entered the meeting room with the usual silence she was known for. Everyone stared in shock. At that moment, they understood that the quiet teacher was no longer just a teacher. She had become the new owner of Ravenshade Academy. Time seemed to freeze in the meeting room. Everyone watched this familiar but now completely different Eleanor. Once ignored and mocked, she was now the owner of the school. Principal Charles Whitmore's face had gone pale, his eyes wide with shock. Next to him, Victoria Barnes bit her lip to hide her surprise. Neither of them knew what to do. Eleanor stood in the middle of the room and spoke calmly but firmly. "I am here today because, as the rightful owner of Ravenshade Academy, I am determined to correct the injustices and unfairness that have been happening in this school for years." The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. Whispers began. Some were ready to applaud her. Others were afraid. Eleanor continued, "We must create a fair environment where we are all equal. No one will be belittled or ignored anymore." Principal Charles tried to object angrily. "Decisions like this can't be made so quickly. The school has been managed this way for years." But Eleanor looked him in the eye and replied calmly, "That will no longer be the case. Change is inevitable." After the meeting, whispers of shock and fear about the new owner spread through the school corridors. Eleanor quietly but determinedly took the first step toward the power she had dreamed of for so long. As the new owner of the school, Eleanor's silence had come to an end. Her first task was to expose the injustices long ignored. One morning, she held a meeting in the school's administrative office. Principal Charles Whitmore, Victoria Barnes, and other teachers looked at her anxiously. Eleanor's gaze was sharp and determined. "Today, we will thoroughly investigate every kind of unfairness and discrimination in this school," she said. "We will do this openly, not silently. No one will be humiliated or ignored anymore." She placed complaints, emails, and voice recordings collected over the years from students and staff on the table. These were suppressed truths proven with evidence. Unease spread among teachers and staff. Some defended themselves, others silently confessed their wrongdoings. Eleanor began inspecting every corner of the school. She spoke one-on-one with students, listened to their problems and injustices. Hearing the voices of those who had been wronged was her priority. She sensed that the powerful were afraid, but did not back down. Justice and fairness guided every decision. Everyone knew now that Eleanor Gray, the quiet teacher, was here to correct past wrongs one by one. The wind of justice swept through the school, and the dark shadows of the past began to surface one by one. There was no turning back. No one doubted Eleanor's determination. One day, Eleanor met one of her former students, James Miller. Now a teacher at Ravenshade, James had once bullied and mocked Eleanor. Though he had changed over the years, facing him was not easy. Eleanor spoke in a calm and kind voice. "James, I know what you did in the past. We must work together for a fair school." James hung his head, eyes full of regret. "You're right, Eleanor. I behaved terribly then. Now I want to make amends." But not everyone showed remorse. Victoria Barnes remained unchanged. She was sarcastic and defiant against Eleanor's determined steps. "You won't bring me down, Eleanor. This school is my territory too." Eleanor smiled. "Time will tell, Victoria. This school will no longer be run by the old rules." She knew that confrontations and reckonings were just the beginning. Her quiet revenge was strong enough to force everyone to look in the mirror. Eleanor made cold and clever moves against those who had belittled her for years, not with brute force or shouting, but with strategy. The privileges and favoritism that Victoria Barnes had protected for years disappeared one by one. Eleanor neutralized them with quiet, subtle moves. Every decision, document, and meeting was her greatest weapon. Supported by the school board, she ensured the dismissal of teachers who had unfair advantages. No one could protest because everything was backed by proof and documents. Students noticed the change as well. Their rights were now protected, and a fair and equal learning environment was created. Eleanor's revenge was cold and effective, small and seemingly harmless, but it caused deep wounds. Years of suppressed anger were expressed with intelligence and determination. At every step, she demanded accountability for the injustices done to her in the past. The old voices no longer echoed through the school halls. Silence had become the melody of a powerful revenge. The atmosphere at Ravenshade Academy had changed. Disrespect, unfairness, and injustice from the past were gone. Eleanor Gray's silent revenge gave way to a hopeful new beginning. The school had become a place centered on students, inclusive and fair. Eleanor had transformed from the once underestimated teacher into a respected and listened-to leader. At the graduation ceremony, the eyes of students and teachers were full of emotion. Eleanor stepped onto the podium and spoke in her calm but impressive voice. In this school, everyone's voice must be heard, and every individual must be valued. Silence is not always weakness. Silence is preparing, strengthening, and speaking when the time is right. Those in the audience found themselves in Eleanor's words. At that moment, everyone understood the great power hidden behind silence. Eleanor was no longer silent, but she did not shout or scare those around her. Her power was patience-woven justice and deep wisdom. Under Eleanor's leadership, Ravenshade Academy charted a brand new path. The shadows of the past were behind, and the future was bright. And as the story ends, the silent teacher's quiet revenge was etched in memories as an unforgettable victory. That's the full story in English, naturally flowing without section headings. Would you like me to add a friendly closing call to action message for likes, subscribes, and comments as well?